Hello and welcome to another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. This will be a 4v4 random team orc compilation. I think I'm going to be orc in all these games. So I'll go ahead and get this kicked off here with the first one. This first game is going to be on Friends, and I believe the way this game goes is that it's called 2v4, so we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I've got one ally that leaves. I'm gonna be the blue orc here. The ally that leaves is orange. He's the player that spawns right next to me on this map, friends. We spawned at the 3 o'clock position here, and yeah, I've got an undead ally near me. I'm an orc. I plan to sort of mass grunts after the guy bails on the game. And then we've got an undead, excuse me, and an elf player at the bottom of the bottom spawns for us. They look to be fairly sort of decent players as they, sort of built towards the center. The way this map is sort of set up is the behind the gold mine is where sort of the base entrances are, or the main sort of easiest ones. You can of course go around the map and come in from like I would say this is like the back, but sort of the closest distance is just a straight line from the bases rather than going all the way around, I think. So a lot of times players will tend to get attacked from that direction. If you come in from the side, you have a little bit less options in terms of like picking your target. You're gonna have to run, sort of past potentially base defense and stuff. Depending on how they set their base up. Of course, a lot of players will build their first sort of buildings and some defensive structures, or have the potential to build defensive structures with ziggurats towards the center of the map. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get a Tauren Chieftain and grunts, and I'm going to be trying to get mass fiends with orange. I don't know how long I skipped the Tome of Relics, but I go ahead and get a second crypt. I just want to mass units sort of full stop so we can get an early rush. I don't really have any clue what the opponents are doing, but I always feel like when a player leaves the game, especially when like 2 or 3 players leave the game, if it's going to be like 1 versus 4, in that scenario I for sure am going to have trouble trying to play a long sort of back and forth game with only just sort of myself to micro and macro everything. Now where it's 3 versus 4, it's not really as big of a problem. We could do tech strategies and stuff. It probably wouldn't be a big deal. But I still decided to go for looks like I'm going to lose a peon. He got that peon sort of surrounded, and I didn't even really try to save him, honestly. But unfortunately, I don't think I could have anyway. But regardless, the theory is that it's going to be easier just to do a rush rather than try to play out a longer game being down a player. Maybe catch the opponents off guard. Now, a lot of times when players on the other team leave, a lot of times the enemies will sort of think yellow is going to get the scout owl. That's pretty good. So to scout a little bit, but yeah, a lot of times the players will think, okay, somebody left on the other team, they're probably going to rush, so maybe get some defenses or whatever. In this particular case, though, Red has decided to fast tech. I don't know if he does that every single game or just in certain games, but he's decided to fast tech and harass with the Blade Master and a Demon Hunter. He's got a Voodoo Lounge here. It looks like he's, it's an interesting idea. Unfortunately for him, Yellow scouted this base with no barracks, and he scouted this elf base with no Hunter's Hall. Well, we don't know that there's no there technically could be a Hunter's Hall somewhere hidden, but it looks like there's going to be archers and no grunts from Red. So I just go in here with everything and with me and orange, and now for some reason the green player has left, unfortunately, for just losing his hero. So they're going to do a split attack. The bottom is going to be defending. I'm not too concerned about these bases. I've got Nerubian towers, a good burrow set up, and they're out of position. So they're going to lose 2 burrows immediately, and I haven't lost hardly anything. I've got grunts against archers. This should be sort of an easy, easy to win. The one sort of saving grace for them is they are fighting near they were fighting near burrows and moonwells and Ancient of War building units, and they've got a Demon Hunter Blade Master combination. Now these 2 heroes are some of the strongest heroes in the game. This is patch 1.29, I should point out. They did get some slight nerfs, the Demon Hunter and the Blade Master, but they're still really strong in terms of stats. You can see he just goes in on my Torrent, and I can't even fight him. Like, I mean, I had taken some damage, so that's fair. But yeah, you know, these grunts should just easily overwhelm the archers. And again, if it was 2 players, it's probably be much easier. But as it's 1 player, you know, I'm trying to save my hero and micro this stuff and macro, you know, 2 bases. I get us around on this Demon Hunter. He is going to die, I think, here. No, he TPs, I think. No, he dies, actually. So that's pretty good news. If he town portaled, that would have been very useful. I think he was he level 2? Well, he's actually got 2 altars. He sort of messed up there and built a 2nd altar. No, he's only level 1. Okay, so yeah. But, but yeah, pink TP's in here, so now they've got 3 players trying to defend from our attack from 2 players. Rez getting some of his burrows back, which is, it's going to be really important that I deny his burrows as much as I can. Though he does have ghouls and a level, he is level 3 on his Dreadlord. He's only got a level 1 aura. He's sort of out of mana. I don't know if he's got Sleep or Carrion Swarm. He's a long way off from using Carrion Swarm in terms of the mana. If he's got Carrion Swarm, though he could use these Moonwells, that would be good. And if he's got Sleep, I want to say it's 65 mana for level 2 Sleep. I might be wrong on that one. Or maybe is it 50 mana? It might be 50 mana because they reduced the mana cost of level 1 Sleep to 75, I believe. But anyway, now we have green and yellow, or yellow controlling green here. So we've got all 4 for this attack. This is pretty good, but red has managed to get up a bestiary, and he's popped out a couple of raiders. Now, raiders excel in sort of hit and run style battles generally, or if you can like focus down heroes. The bad news for them in this scenario is, or it should be, looks like they're sort of holding this a little bit better than I would have hoped. But now I've got orange with level 2, and level 3, and he's got level 2 Death Coil. So we've got Unholy Aura, Endurance Aura, and True Shot Aura. And that's going to be pretty much amazing on our units. And True Shot Aura is going to affect the Priestess, the Archers, and the Fiends. Pretty good amount of our units. I'm not really going to be massing ranged units for with my sort of base. I'm just going to be massing grunts. But definitely useful to have True Shot on the Fiends. True Shot Aura, Endurance Aura is going to help the DPS. Unholy Aura to some degree will help my DPS. It will help us chase down units. Death Coil, Shockwave, both high DPS. Depending on when I hit level 3, depending on my mana pool, will sort of determine if I pick Aura or Shockwave. Shockwave, if I have enough mana, will be very strong at level 2. And I picked Death Coil at level 2 for the the Death Knight because I think I did have mana at that point. And but yeah, so the Demon Hunter is level 1. We've knocked out 1 bestiary. So in terms of being afraid of air units, well, we have some archers anyway, but not too worrying for if 1 air unit pops out. But so yeah, the raiders aren't really great in this scenario unless they can force some like town portals or some hero kills or something. If we don't have to run, raiders really aren't that threatening. And again, we don't have dryads, we don't have casters or anything, so the raiders aren't really doing bonus damage to anything here. And honestly, I don't have that many grunts left for him to lock up with ensnare. He does have Ensnare now, but I don't even think I've seen him use it, honestly. I don't have Burrow yet. I haven't even teched with the Undead player, which is probably not great. It would have been really good to have like statues here, and I'm sure macro-wise, yeah, he's got about 1,200 gold. So I'm not doing great macro-wise. I'm trying to micro this battle and everything, and I'm doing, I think we're doing a pretty decent job here, just on the sort of unit count alone. We knock out this shop. The elf player was in tier 2, so that wasn't really the biggest sort of priority. He could get moonstones, which would sort of be useful to him, but it looks like we're pretty much gonna roll through this base. Now red is like using the raiders to jack rallied units, which could be very dangerous if he starts leveling his hero up. But the grunts and the fiends, if he ensnares them and he gets in range, he's got to get into melee range with raiders and his blade master. So he is going to take damage from every unit that he kills. But again, sort of outnumbering them one by one, and having a hero, obviously, and potentially healing salves. Sadly, I have the rally, like, not in the base. I thought it was a little bit closer. So I'm not, these grunts are going to be sort of sitting here, but that's bad play here. But anyway, we do knock red out of the game. Pink TP's in again. I will sort of reiterate what I've said before in some audios. I think ghouls are just understated. Like, normally ghouls are really strong again. They should be stronger against, well, I mean, they are to a degree stronger against fiends and archers and headhunters due to the armor type, the damage type, and sort of the cost efficiencies. The bad news is they're not as good as something like a grunt or a footman. Their stats just are not as good. They don't cost as much as a grunt or a footman. They cost slightly more than, they cost slightly less than a footman, and they cost a lot less than a grunt. But their stats, I'd rather have a grunt or a footman in terms of their stats. Would it be sort of imbalanced if they could get, sort of footman level stats without any upgrades to go along with Vampiric Core, Unholy Aura, or just everything else in the race? I don't really think so. I think they should be a little bit closer to on par with the footman. Maybe having 1 armor or 2 armor and or more hit points. Which one would be better? Maybe a little bit more hit points and 1 armor, something like that. As it stands, as I frequently will point out, you may know already, footman, the base footman stats, they have 80 more hit points along with 2 more base armor with no upgrades. Plus, the footman can get a defend upgrade, which is going to make them way better, or even better. I'll say even better. It's a pretty strong upgrade. It's fairly costly as well, you might say, but it is a really strong upgrade if you're going up against towers, burrows, fiends, archers. It can really be incredible. I mean, if you really sort of utilize it correctly, and sort of try to mitigate the downside of the slow movement, turning it on and off to take advantage of that. I have to town portal to defend my base. I don't have to, but I decided to town portal to defend this base because there's, they're trying to like catch us off guard and trade 1 base for 1, and we've already knocked out Red's base pretty much entirely. I don't think he can get. I don't know if he's got peons left, but it's very unlikely he can get back. I don't see any peons, so I don't think he can get back at all into the game. I think he's actually, no, he didn't leave, so that's kind of odd, honestly, but maybe he feels like he can help somebody. I think somebody else left on their team. Yeah, Teal left, so I think Red may be controlling Teal. But yeah, I want to get purple out of my base. I'm not really sure why yellow's massing fairy dragons and or Gargs with green. I guess the risk is at this point the undead player on the other team might have had enough time to get destroyers or frostworms. Which again, it is good to have some anti-air. I would have probably preferred him just to continue massing fiends and just get web. That would help me sort of counter air a little bit because grunts, will be able to hit any webbed unit. But if it's frostworms and destroyers, that's I probably want to keep my grunts clear of those things. So that might not really sort of be the best idea. But anyway, it's a decent idea just to get some anti-air, and it does look like pink, or sorry, purple is going to be getting some casters. So fairy dragons could potentially do some serious damage. The positioning is all messed up. I've got fiends near Ancients of War. I hope I move this fiend out of the way, because it's taking like 50 damage a hit from this thing, and it gets, I think, another 50% damage on, you know, medium armor. So that would be like 75 damage a hit every time it hits a fiend with 0 base armor. So purple town portal's in here. I've killed or we've killed or destroyed the entangled gold mine. Killed the paladin. Again, the micro is not going, you know, not really that big of a thing. Well, you know, I'm not. This is not like the cleanest game here, but I do at least pull the Tauren back. I'm getting a Voodoo Lounge to sort of get some kind of healing on him, hopefully. Orange, I think I do heal his hero here. Yeah, I could have actually. I wasn't really thinking. I could have just controlled that hero myself to get him out of the way, but I decided just to let him tank and heal him, since I can do that. Again, if you can tank with, I mean, assuming you can actually save the hero, tanking with strength here generally is a decent idea, especially if he's like level 4 or something. You know, if you got some way to heal him, it can be very good. You know, they have hero armor. I don't see. Green is like pulling him all the way back. He's got 4 armor and hero armor on that Death Knight at level 4. So yeah, that's, you know, that's going to be decent for him to you know, sort of tank the damage. I've hit level 6 now. I do not get level 3 endurance aura. I've got about 400 hit points, and I don't really think they're going to kill my Tauren. But you know, just in case they do, you know, I can go ahead and let him die and get all that mana back if I want to. Though I don't see any units to really focus with Shockwave here, so I pull back and go ahead and save him. I'd rather him, you know, and plus I have almost 100 mana anyway, so in terms of like, you know, when I want to lose this hero, you know, I don't really want to lose him, right? I mean, you don't lose it, you get him back, of course, but I don't really want to utilize that ability just yet. Hold on a second. Okay, so yeah, so I just used some healing salves and some clarity potions, and it's, you know, it's going to be fine. The cursor is getting a little bit messed up because people are leaving, but anyway, yeah, we look at the score screen here. The undead player that left actually ends up with a high score. That's, you know, it's not really, it shouldn't be that surprising considering he's got like the fiends are probably, or at least arguably, the best, you know, heads up tier 1 unit that there is in the game. Grunts are probably a close second. The reason is fiends they sort of have a lot of hit points, and they can tank, and their range, and they deal decent DPS. And in terms of, you know, later stages of the game, they can get web, which is very useful. It's in terms of the being anti-air against you know, light or heavy air. Web is I mean, it probably is you would just prefer to have web rather than, you know, like riflemen or headhunters perhaps, though you do require that upgrade to get anti-air with fiends. So it's sort of, you know, you don't need an upgrade for rifles, you don't need an upgrade for headhunters or archers. They can just hit air. So so yeah, that's, you know, in some sense web is really good. Burrow again can be very useful if you get that upgrade. But yeah, just in terms of tier 1, you know, fiends can tank some damage. You know, they can dish out some serious damage. So and they have more range than huntresses do. So in sort of a standing battle, especially with, you know, all the auras that we had, it was, you know, it benefits from True Shot aura, unlike, you know, any of the other, a lot of the other, you know, ghouls, footmen, grunts, they don't benefit from the aura. Obviously, hunts and archers do, sure, but they suffer from either low hit points in the case of archers, or sort of being unarmored in the case of huntresses. Um, so that's why I say a lot of times in sort of a standing battle, fiends, equal number of fiends generally do pretty good against an equal number of huntresses. Um, especially once you get to like a critical number. If you get a whole bunch of fiends and they get a whole bunch of huntresses, a lot of times that range is going to be sort of troubling for the huntresses. As they try to run away, the fiends might get off like one more attack. As they run into the battle, the fiends might start attacking sooner. Um, so yeah, it's just, but it's pretty close. But again, I would rather have uh, sort of for that mass rush, either grunts or fiends. When it comes to grunts versus fiends, the range units, or sort of the range aspect of the fiends, are really good. Let me go ahead and load up another replay here. The range aspect of the fiends, though, is useful a lot of times, and of course grunts will never hit air. I mean, just by themselves they won't hit air, but let's see, this map is this map is going to be Battleground. I always forget the names of these forest maps, some of them, so most of them, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, the range aspect is good, but grunts do extra to fiends. So if you can get in range with the grunts, especially if you can get surrounds with the grunts, which sometimes is very weird. Like you won't often have like, you won't see somebody running around with 12 grunts generally. I do it like all the time because this is the goofy sort of strategies that I do, but in fours. But anyway, this game is going to be another fours game. I'm going to be spawning sort of at the 3 o'clock-ish position. And I think I tech in this game, if I remember correctly. I think I actually fast tech without a barracks. We'll see how it goes. But this is really pretty risky. This map is not huge. You can rush on this map. I mean, you can rush on any map, honestly, but for most maps. But yeah, I'm not an edge spawn here. I'm not an edge spawn. We've got an undead at the edge over there. We've got a green is towering outside of blue's base. So this is it's really going to be risky for me to take here. And obviously I didn't know when I sort of started my build that green was going to do this crazy nonsense. I've never seen this play. I don't think I've ever seen this player try this. And it's not generally a good idea. I mean, towers are, they're pretty strong against tier 1, for sure. But look how far away he is from this guy's base. I mean, if they react incorrectly to this, it can be very powerful. Again, if like 1 or 2 players try to fight this and then we're there to defend it, obviously that's going to be a disadvantage. They'd rather not try to fight at these towers, especially if he gets another 3 of them up, which it looks like he definitely will. He would do well to get the masonry upgrade. I guess he doesn't have the resources just yet to get masonry. But yeah, in terms of this though, I'm teching, so I'm. Oh, here's the funny thing. This is what happened. Purple is just like, I don't know if he's like AFK or what's going on, but I am killing all of his acolytes with just a Blade Master. This is sort of one of the silly things about this. You almost never see this happen with a player that's like paying any kind of attention. So I don't know if he had his sound off, because oftentimes it's going to alert you, hey, you're under attack. And I mean, if you're in your base, it's really hard to miss this, but especially if your sound is off, it can be possible. It looks like he's not AFK. He's just totally ignoring it. He doesn't realize it. So I'm not actually gonna. He does realize it before he gets. I should switch to his position or his vision and see. I bet somebody was pinging that like crazy on his team. But anyways, he's decided to try to create the bigger camp around his base. I don't know. Generally, you would think he'd want to go for this smaller camp at first, but he went for that one. and I killed every single acolyte, and I did like almost half damage to his gold mine, and he didn't have the Nerubian Tower by his gold mine. He had it out in the front. So I've seen a lot of undead players. Sorry, we'll skip over here to green. Blue has decided just to run by the towers, I guess, and go for green's main. Not a terrible decision. He did take a bunch of damage, I'm sure, running through there. Unless he town portaled, which I doubt he did. So yeah, he should have started. Yeah, he's starting to throw up some watchtowers himself. Orc watchtowers, or watchtowers, they have a separate name. Orc towers, though, they have 100 more range than all the they have 100 more range than guard towers. So if green wants to make guard towers here, he's gonna be sort of outranged. So he can't really get watchtower or guard towers up. Once these watchtowers get up, he's not going to be able to build them, sort of keep going and encroach into the base. It doesn't look like he really plans to do that anyway, though. Plus his base has just gotten mauled. So that's bad news. I couldn't really help defend him with just a hero. I mean, I couldn't do too much. I think I did actually run down and go to his base. So I tried to help defend him. I'm going to pick off a couple of grunts here. I'm level 2. I've got a Slippers of Agility. I crept this green camp, or at least the item. I don't remember if I finished the camp. I probably did. And then, in the meantime, purple is going to go attack yellow. And red is going to join him. So red's got archers and true shot. Purple's got ghouls and a lich. This is not a great combo. If purple had fiends here, this would be a much more threatening attack with true shot aura as it was. And grunts, ghouls again. Like I say, I think ghouls are just understated in general, especially when you're going up against towers and stuff. You'd rather have range so you can like kite these buildings easily, but you can take advantage of true shot aura. But regardless, yellow has got a Fire Lord, a bit of an interesting choice as a second hero, or sorry, no, as a second hero, as his first hero, I guess. And now finally purple's throwing up a Nerubian Tower by his gold mine as well. I would recommend always getting your first Nerubian Tower, if you're going to get one, by your gold mine, and I would recommend getting it in almost every game as undead, especially in like 4v4. If it's solo, you might can risk it if you scout and you don't think you're going to get harassed against certain races. But the issue is in 4s, there's like 4 people that could potentially do some kind of harassment on you. Plus, if they do like a 2-player harassment, and you don't have a tower, it can be very easy to kill acolytes. They're actually going to give acolytes a few substantial buffs in the next patch, according to the sort of playtest patch they've got, playtest realm that they've got set up. So it's going to be a little bit easier to sort of defend acolytes, but as it is right now, before that patch sort of goes live on sort of the regular BattleNet, acolytes are very vulnerable, and even then they'll still be somewhat vulnerable. They'll just be a little bit less vulnerable because you can move them around quicker and stuff like that. And I think they're gonna have more hit points or something, but more regeneration or something. But yeah. So now I've got my raiders. I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna really just ignore this fiend with the raiders and go for the necropolis. The game is pretty much over here. I can speed it up. Green's got his tower still set up. Blue can build, now he can build demolishers. Teal's got glaive throwers. God, they got this, there's an error where when people start leaving the game, like, the cursor sort of messes up here and it's not contained. I think that's sort of an issue with when people leave, so it sort of messes up the containment of the cursor for me, or like how the cursor reacts to some degree. So, like moving the screen around. I'm moving it around with the keyboard at the moment. But anyway, yeah, the raiders though. Raiders are very, if you can get to raiders and have mass raiders, they're pretty sort of interesting and versatile units. You can do, I mean, this is a really dumb decision. I'm just gonna like crash them into these buildings. Well, actually, I try to kill this demon hunter. That was a bad decision. Like, he had immolation. I should have just ensnared that until he ran out of mana. Look how much damage I took on these raiders. That was really bad. When I could have just been going at blue's base. But yeah, the game is pretty much over now. It doesn't, you know, I shouldn't just throw my units away, but again, I don't really, you know, it's not really that big of a concern now to lose units. But yeah, I've got pillage. I think I've got some 2-1 upgrades. But yeah, like I was gonna say, ensnare is a very strong ability. You know, if you have mass ensnare, you can basically lock down a player's whole army. You know, keep them locked in place. Now, once they get to like certain tier 3 units, you know, frost worms and stuff, it's, you know, it's not as attractive to try to do that, because once they start hitting your raiders with the slow sort of effect from the frost worms, you know, they're just going to pick off your units too. So, you know, they're not locked down like Ensnare does, but, and here's where I just throw my units away. I just like roll in here. I kill a couple of protectors. I think I might kill 3. Yeah, I killed 3 of them and I run out. It's like 3 protectors for something like 6 raiders, I think. It doesn't really match up, but again, it does help them sort of. And pink, again, pink throws a bunch of fiends away. But in terms of, yeah, what I should have did was just go hit the rest of Red's main base. I don't know if he cancels this keeper. No, he doesn't. It looks like he gets the keeper back, actually. It's a level 1 keeper, almost level 2. Not really a huge deal, honestly, but I mean, there was no reason for me just to throw, like, we didn't have any urgency to kill that, you know, just to fight them right there at that particular moment. But again, I've got about 2,000 gold, so it's not really. I think I'm gonna leave some. Yeah. Oh, I pulled the Bat Rider back. I have pillage, so it's better for me to kill stuff, buildings at least with the raiders, to get those resources. So yeah, that's the thing with raiders. You know, you can get pillage. They take their armor's medium, so they're not going to take a bunch of damage, or they're not going to take. They're going to reduce damage from piercing damage sources. They do extra damage to buildings. They do extra damage to unarmored units. They're fast moving, so. And again, yeah, being able to lock up heroes, air units, you know, pretty much anything. Nothing is immune to ensnare. No units or heroes are immune to ensnare. I don't think. I don't know that I've ever seen an infernal ensnare, but I'm pretty sure you can ensnare an infernal. So yeah, that's, you know, it's pretty powerful. I think I have level 6 on the blade. Yeah, I have level 6. I'm gonna run in here and think about casting Blade Storm, and I try to hit as much as I can. I could have hit more. There's a couple of moments where I could have done a better one, but I do kill probably like 5 units. 5 units, 1 Huntress, I think, and then 4 Archers. And then Yellow is just kind of running here with Guards. This is actually, Guards are about one of the worst things he can make, because they've got nothing but Archers and Protectors. Protectors have fortified armor. They do piercing damage. That's like the ideal combination against Guards and most light air units. And then Archers. You know, Archers have Loon's Grace, so they, or Loon's Blessing, I forget which one it's called, but anyway, it reduces piercing damage by a significant amount, and they do piercing damage as well. And their range is much more than the range of the Guards. So yeah, the Volcano. I think somebody says they've never seen the Volcano Ultimate. Actually, the guy who was left said this was fun. It's kind of, you often see players like getting mad or whatever, but he's like, oh, this is fun. You know, you got to sort of defend his Helm's Deep type position over here with all these towers and stuff. So that's funny. Pretty good attitude to that guy. But yeah, we'll go ahead and kick right to the next replay. Gonna sort of skip over the score screen. That wasn't like that wasn't too sort of too competitive of a game, honestly. So here's going to be another replay, another game on that guy's team, Jedi Mind Science. I have seen him quite a few times in For's random team. So we'll see what he does this game. I don't think he does any kind of tower push on this map. Um, but yeah, yeah, this time I'm going to be getting barracks. I think I probably go for mass grunts here. So I sort of have, in terms of like the strategies I like to go for and forward with orc, I really have only sort of a handful of ones that I prefer. I've got like Tauren Chieftain, just mass grunts, try to be sort of pressure them early and be very aggressive in the early and mid game, and then late game is the risk. Like you can, depending on what they get, you can still be effective late game, but sometimes there are hard counters late game. Obviously to grunts, Mass Wind Riders is a pretty good counter. That's not really late game, but it's sort of late mid game to have Mass Wind Riders, Hippogriff Riders, and then Chimera, Griffins, Worms, of course, Destroyers. These are going to be really strong counters. Mass Sorceresses, very strong. Even Mass Dryads, honestly, is going to be a pretty decent counter against Mass Grunts if used correctly. So that's really what you're looking at. And then the other strategies, you saw me like hard tech to Raiders and Bat Riders. That's a strategy that can be sort of, if you can find weaknesses, it can be incredibly effective. But you have to hope your allies can survive the early game, so it's a little bit risky. This one is less risky early game. You will have a lot of grunts, so if there's any kind of like early attacks, you should be in good shape, especially if it's like archers, fiends, or headhunters. Even like ghouls and footmen, grunts are going to stand up pretty well to that. The Tauren is a pretty good hero versus early, tier 1 ground units with either Stomp or Shockwave. Times I will get. Actually, I'm not going to be mastering grunts here. I'm sorry. In this game actually will be teching with the Tauren. So and we've got Pit Lord Harass from purple. Interesting. Doing that to Orc is not really a good idea. Orc just pops the peons in the burrow, and it's very easy to avoid. Same with Elf. So he doesn't really have a good target for that. There's 3 Orcs on our team and 1 Elf, and those races can pretty easily avoid the Pit Lord Rain of Fire Harass. I don't know if he knew what our races were. I forget what if all of our races, or some of them were random or whatever. But a human would be maybe a race that was a little bit more vulnerable to that Pit Lord Harass. Undead, not really. I guess being a blight is useful for the Pit Lord, but I wouldn't say that the undead is super vulnerable to the Pit Lord Harass, but a little bit more so than maybe than the Orc and the Elf. But anyway, he wakes up the creeps, and Yellow ends up like fighting them sort of foolishly, sort of goofy. I'm chasing him down. I don't know if I get this kill or not. I think I do. Or sorry, not me. That's Blue. I think we get him. Yeah, Blue does get the kill, so that's useful. Red is towering outside of an expansion. This is interesting. If he can pull this off, this is one of the enemy players. He will be able to expand. I don't know how effective this is. Towers have decent range, but again, getting them to like sort of go back and forth around this area where they can actually get attacked could be tricky. It might take him forever. You see a very similar thing going from Orange here. Oh, this game, I'm going to go ahead and speed this game up a little bit because this game is going to be very, very, I called the replay butt buddies. I don't know if like Orange is a friend of somebody on another team where he's like just trolling or what exactly his idea is. But Orange and then Blue, because the way this game ends up going, Yellow is going to scout this. Sees that's uncrept. Hopefully doesn't attack it. He'll get sort of obliterated if he did. But in the meantime, I'm going for Stomp Grunts, and I think I just go for Mass Casters here. So the idea with it, this is one of the other strategies that I like to do. Sometimes I'll get Shockwave, sometimes I'll get Stomp. I've been sort of liking Stomp, the combination of Stomp and Hex, for the potential to force town portals and or hero kills, stranding armies. That's incredibly powerful. As you level Stomp up, if they still have ground armies, level 3 Stomp is insane. The cooldown is like 1 second longer than the or sorry, the cooldown is yeah, 1 second longer than the stun duration, if I remember correctly, for Stomp. So while the damage and the coverage, the area coverage does increase per level, so that's really good. At level 3, it's pretty good coverage. But I guess the issue being at that point, you see a lot of magic immune and flying units. So outside of like web or ensnare, your Stomp isn't going to hit those. Web and ensnare for air units, that is. I think you can stun air units if they're webbed or ensnared, but anyway. But yeah, interrupting things with Stomp, you know, the coverage, the duration, I think it's up to 5 seconds, and I think the cooldown is 6 seconds. So if you, assuming you have mana, you know, you can keep a large chunk of their army sort of stunned, not like a perma stun chain if you just have one Tauren, but if you got one Tauren and a stasis trap, or you know, a bunch of witch doctors, and or some other here, you know, maybe another player has a Tauren, maybe you get a Tinker for cluster rockets. You know, that was a 2v2 strategy me and a friend used to do. We would go, the Orc player gets a Tauren Chieftain and Tinker, and then you can get an Elf player, no, sorry, not an Elf player, an Undead player for a Crypt Lord, and also a Tinker. So you've got 4 stun heroes, and then you also add Witch Doctors to the equation with Fiends, Grunts, and probably statues. And against ground armies, that strategy, actually, if you can sort of, you know, keep everything equal up until the mid game, in terms of, you know, not losing in the early game and not getting out expanded or something, the strategy is actually very, very strong against a lot of the sort of standard 2v2 strategies for a ranged team. You know, mass hunts and fiends, mass headhunters and hunts, you know, casters and footmen and stuff. I guess it's not as good against dryads, but fiends are pretty decent against dryads, and grunts are pretty decent against dryads. So it's not terrible against those. It's just they're immune to stun. The demon hunter, you know, can mana burn, which is annoying, but he's got to get into range. So if he gets into range with, you know, with Stomp and Impale and cluster rockets and stasis trap, you know, he can get caught and killed. So it's, you know, it's not terrible. In those instances, you might want to, if you are going to be against mass dryads, maybe adding a shadow hunter instead of a tinker second against the demon hunter. Maybe that could be good, better than a tinker. I don't know, but it's just a whole fun aspect of going mass stun, and again, it can be effective. So that's really stun, stasis traps, heal wards, and spirit link. That's when I go for like mass casters. That's the end game that I'm looking for. I really go light on the grunts, which is, you know, has some weaknesses in the mid, sort of late mid game. But the strength is, if I can mass casters and upgrades out of 3 Spirit Lodges, I can pretty quickly have, like I have right now at the 10-minute mark, I've got Heal Ward up, I've got Adept Spear Walkers, I've would hope at some point I get the Fortified Burrow upgrade, but it's not, they're not being very aggressive, so it's not really a huge deal that I do that right now. Oh, I got a Tiny Great Hall, so I'll have some resources coming in. So yeah, if we have a battle, my army is really sort of good support. I don't know what's going on with this Shadow Hunter. That wasn't in my control group. That's what happened. But anyway, so yeah, that's the idea with all these casters. Again, there are, obviously I'm going to be very vulnerable to Dispel. Be somewhat vulnerable to mortars. This army of Hippogriff Riders, I'll be vulnerable to that. As you're going to see, he's going to come in mass piercing damage with light armor. You might say is decent to have these casters, but the caster DPS is nowhere near the Hippogriff DPS, and the armor, 3 armor for the Hippogriffs, even with the only 1 upgrade, 3 armor. The range range and movement speed is a lot better. 600 range, only 400 range for the casters. So he outranges me, he out damages me. Hit points, he's got almost double the hit points, way more armor. So yeah, all the stats in that sort of battle go to him. If it's just me versus him, he wins that. Orange is not making any hippogriffs right now. He's only got a keeper for anti-air. He's got towers, but in terms of like going out to fight this army, he doesn't have anything. If he did have hippogriffs, Pink's got web here, so that's risky. So yeah, I really, with this strategy, I rely on my allies a little bit more than you might want to in random team. But Heal Wave, Heal Ward, Stasis Trap, and Spirit Link is such a strong support combination that if they don't have like a numbers advantage or Dispel, it is incredibly powerful in battles, especially with like Stomp and Hex and maybe Heal Wave or Serpent Wards. Yeah, it can be incredibly powerful. Spirit Link, again, you should know it's one of the staples of Orc in a lot of matchups. It's just so strong, like sort of dividing the damage or spreading the damage out. What it does is it takes 50% of the damage done to a target that has Spirit Link, and it spreads it out to everything else that has Spirit Link. So effectively, I don't know how the armor works. If like it applies the armor value every time, I would think it does. It just seems so powerful to spread. Basically applying every Spirit Link target's armor to half the damage that you take from Spirit Link. Like, is pretty crazy. We've got purple here trying to find a weak point. Again, I don't have towers, so this is sort of a weak point. But getting here and getting out of here is going to be very hard for him. He does have a TP. He needs to TP immediately. I don't know what he's thinking. There's no like exit here. He can't beat this army. This was crazy. Purple. What? He's still not town portaling. Wow, he's gonna lose everything. That was like a terrible play. He's gonna use. I mean, I don't even if I'm playing like halfway decent, he's not gonna get that. Actually, I'm not really playing all that great, so I should have got the surround there and not have to waste like a hex or something. But I think I'm gonna have to hex him maybe once or twice here, or at least once. So yeah, but yeah, that was like I don't know what he was thinking there. He had a town portal. I don't know if he didn't realize he had a town portal or he thought he clicked it or what he was doing, but just loses here. And now we got pink and green. Their army is fairly formidable, but fighting at a base with this army, a base with protectors, is not really all that great. Okay, he does have web, so there's that. Fighting near these towers and these moonwells gives us a shot. If he fights us on open around this army, though, these two armies, excuse me, he should win. Yellow's just sitting here. He's not fighting. On open ground, he might have had a shot. Competently microed, he might have had a chance to beat me and orange. Now, I don't know, with yellow there, maybe not. Like I said, heal wards with no dispel and, without, if you can't, like, get to them and knock them out of the game, 2% healing it sounds like not that much, but obviously, if you're applying that to everything and you're spreading out the damage with Spirit Link, it is a massive amount of healing. The numbers just get like crazy. I wouldn't even try to calculate the numbers, but I mean, just multiply, whatever you would think the average hit points on, a target is, 2% of a Chimera, what's that? That's 20 hit points on a Chimera. Now that's one of the bigger examples, what on a Wind Rider, 20% is 11.4. On a Tauren, it's going to be pretty big. It's going to be 26 damage per second healed on a Tauren. So you just multiply every single unit. It's you could say it's anywhere between like 8 and 20 plus damage. And Orange TP's back to get some items. Orange is really just trolling. Like I don't know if he's friends with somebody on the other team or what, but he's trolling. Yellow is, it's hard to say if he's trolling. In that battle, for a while, he was just sitting there, not seemingly attacking. So, he could have been trolling. He could just be bad. I don't know. Based on the tower rushing earlier, he could be just doing goofy strategies. I've got this giant Furbolg summon here. Furbolg Ursa Warrior. That thing is, it's got Stomp, Chaos Damage, 1100 hit points. So yeah, we drop heal wards all over the place. Drop stasis traps, sentry wards. Not microing the best here. Look at losing these Jewels of the witch doctors and stuff. But yeah, the game is gone. Purple again. Purple got smashed earlier. He didn't have like frostworms like he should probably be, or frostworms and or destroyers. Destroyers would actually be pretty. I don't know that they'd be game breaking, but they'd be very useful, assuming we're fighting inside of a base. Being able to dispel all this bloodlust and maybe the stasis trap, maybe the heal wards, the spirit wolves, spirit link, it would be really strong. Now he does have to worry about all these wind riders, but actually yellow and bat riders. But yellow he's sort of lost a bunch of his wind riders. He doesn't have like the mass that I think he had earlier, but he does have 4 bat riders. Uh, so yeah, but web, if he webs those, it's not as big of a problem, obviously, webbing the bat riders. But yeah, if you look at the replay, you'll notice that even though it looks like we've pretty much won here, the time is only maybe 30% or 25% or something. So yeah, I'm just going to speed it up here. And when we just go crushing all these bases, again, we're not even, I don't even think yellow. Okay, sorry, not yellow, orange. I think orange was like, I don't know, he's like TPing around. I don't know if he was attacking somebody there. Now he's like just AFKing in blue's base, or sitting in blue's base with like probably 100 food worth of, well, not 100 food worth of units, but a huge giant army that he could just be like going to kill stuff with. And then blue is actually helping right now. So yeah, it's I don't think blue was like trolling or anything. Maybe what happened during the game is like somebody like sort of private chatted. There's like a little there's a setting in the chat thing during games where you can change it to send messages to only you can send it only to allies, you can send it to everybody, you can send it to a specific player. Even on the other team, you can send it to specific players. So Orange comes in here and he knocks. He is going to be attacking here. So he's not actually actively team killing, which is good. He could probably be a huge problem if he team killed, like went and started attacking bases with Mass Chimera, especially for me, because my army is, as you're gonna see, really terrible at defending a base race, or sorry, defending your own ally. Certain races and certain armies are really bad at defending your allies. Hippogriff and Chimera should be decent, but like a Tauren Chieftain, I can't hit him with any offensive spell. So there goes Stomp, there goes Shockwave if I got it. Shadowhunter, Hex, I can't hex his units. Heal Wave is going to affect his units as well as mine, his heroes as well as mine, so I can't really use Heal Wave very easily. I can still use it if I get far away from his units, but it's sort of clunky. It's with Serpent Wards. I don't think I can. I don't think I can actually. I'm not sure if I can force attack his units with Serpent Wards. I forget. I don't think you can actually, which is really sort of, in this specific circumstance, really annoying because Serpent Wards are magic immune and they do piercing damage. So they would, in theory, be decent against Chimera if he's standing there and fighting. Also, Wind Riders, as you're going to see, is going to be very annoying. So, but I haven't come up yet. Again, I'll speed it up. Tanks, a great idea in theory, but it's a little bit too late. We got too much. We got ground units and stuff. So tanks are really strong as massed air, though. So Hippogriff Riders, Chimera, Bats, Wind Riders, those massed up air units, everything else being equal, tanks are insane against those if they just have a standing battle. Now, obviously, you can run from tanks fairly easily. I'm not exactly sure why I town portal there. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and creep some of the stuff in the center and sort of try to find him. I've got a Hawk. I think I picked up a Beastmaster to get a Hawk and just send that around. And, you know, everything's fine. Now I'm just thinking, okay, orange is being slow and weird, but it's no big deal as long as he's not attacking me. I don't think blue is attacking me yet, so that's good. But at some point, blue is going to start attacking us, the allies. And then orange is actually going to leave the game. So that leaves a very awkward situation because it shares the control of your allies that leave with everybody. So I can control Orange's base and his armies and everything, but so can anybody else on the team. So, for example, if somebody wants to sort of grief and, you know, use his army in some sort of negative way to affect our team, for example, attacking my base, attacking my army, uprooting and doing whatever with the buildings, not being useful but being negative, sort of, you know, detrimental to us, then that's, you know, it's gonna be bad news. And here's where he sort of starts attacking. I don't know what he's like, what exactly he's doing here. I didn't catch if he said something in the chat, so I said hello or something. But he starts attacking my units, and he is killing all my berserkers. I don't really have that many, honestly. Like, he would, if we had a battle, he would win. Taurens and Wind Riders, along with his heroes, Blade Master and Farseer, those are pretty decent at team killing. Especially what I've got. You know, I've got a bunch of unarmored casters that if I'm using spells, if I'm using heal wards, he's going to benefit. Stasis Trap does not hit his units. You know, Sentry Ward's useless because I can already see him all the time. Spirit Link, as long as I don't Spirit Link him, that's going to be, you know, okay to use Spirit Link. But again, Spirit Link and heal wards, if he fights near my heal wards, it's essentially no benefit to me, honestly. And the Blade Master is just a huge source of damage. All of his, I don't know if he critical strikes his allies. He probably doesn't. But he just does a massive amount of damage. So he does more damage than like the Tauren, for example. So yeah, he's probably just going to out DPS me with that. Taurens, you know, I don't know if Pulverize works on your allies. Probably doesn't. So yeah, I'm almost certain it doesn't. So yeah, but just the Wind Riders. The Wind Riders is a really big deal. I'm not going to be able to counter his Wind Riders easily with the units that I've got. So I've got these Watchtowers, which I can force attack with the Watchtowers. They're fortified armor. They outrange the Wind Riders by a significant amount, and they do piercing damage, which is going to tear the Wind Riders up. So as long as I can just set up some towers, you know, I'll have some sort of safe havens to avoid his Wind Riders. Plus, my main base has a bunch of towers and burrows, so, you know, it should be okay to sort of defend against Wind Riders. So yeah, that's the situation. You know, it's good that we've pretty much knocked the enemies out before this happened. If it happened before, you know, we probably wouldn't have been able to win. Same for Orange. If he would have like really tried to kill us, probably wouldn't have been able to win. But yeah, no, there's no reason for this. Like, I don't know what the guy's thinking. I think Orange is still in the game. I don't really know what the deal is here. And then Orange runs into Blue's base, and they kill off. Blue's gonna kill off all of Orange stuff. Orange runs out, uses Tranquility. Now Orange is like, oh, I'm gonna try to kill his heroes and stuff. I don't know. Orange wasn't attacking Blue at first, and then he lost all of his anti-air, and then he couldn't. Like, he couldn't really fight Blue then, and he didn't really want to fight him in his base either. So yeah, that's like, I don't have any clue what was like going on with this grief junk. I'm just trying to like track down all the buildings and kill them. And I've got about 9,000 gold. I'm not like, I'm not like building a ton of units here to do this. I should probably just build raiders and wind riders or something. Not raiders. I have to now. Now as the game goes, I have to actually. I see that blue is going to continue this stupidity. So, and pink's going to say some nonsense. He's already lost the game. Blah blah blah. So, I don't know what GSM is supposed to mean. But anyway, game sense perhaps. But anyway, now Orange has left the game, so we both control Orange. So if he wants to try to like struggle for control, we can do that, and it can be stupid. But and I'm building hippogriffs here because his big threat is air, and so that's what I'm worried about. So I'm gonna build the hippogriffs, but the problem is he can control those too. So we're gonna have to like struggle for control for that. I can't use bat riders against my allies, so that's rather annoying. It's probably good that you can't do that, since if you ran into somebody who wanted to like team kill, that would be very and you could sack bat riders that way. I don't, that would be very toxic, I think. But anyway, I start to build some bestiaries. He's gonna come in here and cancel some of them. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to mass basically the same army that he's got in terms of the air units. I'm just gonna have to mass wind riders basically. I don't think berserkers are gonna work against the Tauren and the Blade Master. So yeah, I just decided to mass wind riders. And the bad news is, well, the good news I guess I should say is he doesn't right now have an expansion he's got this expansion going, so he needs to get that full. I wasn't really thinking actually. It's really dumb to think, but I didn't notice that he had this expansion going, and I didn't think just to go there and kill it before he started getting more resources. Even though he's got about 5,000, he's got plenty of resources anyway. He fights me here. He's gonna kill the Beastmaster against level 1. It's not, not really helping me honestly. But I kill most of his air here. But again, he's got this Blade Master. I don't have anything really effective to deal with this Blade Master. I need, hero spells that I could use against him would have been good, but I can't. I don't have hero spells that can affect him. And my heroes are not. The Shadowhunter's base DPS is pretty pitiful. Tauren's okay, but then you've got Endurance Aura is going to help him and me, so it doesn't. Endurance Aura helps us both when we're in a battle, so it's basically a push. So yeah, I need really like normal damage or something to kill his hero, but if I get normal damage units, he's got all these mass Wind Riders, and fighting him here was kind of dumb. I don't know. I guess when my Wind Riders show up, I can kill his air, but some of it. But again, he's sort of made his air a little bit quicker than me. So and he's got this Blade Master who level 7. He's gonna just rip through my air units on open ground very easily. So, but yeah, I need to kill his gold source like this right here. I need to destroy that. Should be able to do it very easily. I think. Do I do it now? I think it takes me forever to go deal with that. I should just go build towers on it, but if he's paying attention, he'll stop that. So yeah, I'm building towers and stuff here. So yeah, really the name of the game is sort of like a free-for-all type situation. You want to control the resources, and now, yeah, I finally just TP in here and kill it. He didn't have towers there, thankfully. He's going to do the same to my towers, but my towers are, I have towers, so that's, they're really strong against Wind Riders. So I do kill a bunch of his air units here. But again, he's got this Blade Master his Blade Master can basically fight off like 5 to 6 Wind Riders fairly well, honestly. I mean, he can pick units off pretty easily with the Blade Master. I was going to say something about idiots and, blah, blah. I finally knocked him sort of out of the game. I don't know how many resources, but he finally gets knocked out. And, yeah, that was really lucky that didn't start happening before the enemies were knocked out. Because they very easily, if, like, Red was still able to mass up tanks and stuff, they very easily could have sort of rolled rolled us. So Force Caster Battle, or Power, or whatever it was. This is going to be on Murgle Oasis. This is a game where I think, assuming from the replay name, that I'm going to mass casters. I'll go ahead and speed through the beginning. So yeah, I'm going to be going for a Blade Master and Barracks this time. A little bit of a different look. Wait, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong base. I'm wrong. I'm going for a Tauren. Same deal, probably with Stomp. I'm starting to like I said earlier, I'm starting to sort of prefer Stomp to go with these casters in conjunction with like Hex and Stasis Trap and stuff. It's of course a different play style. You have to sort of put your Tauren a little bit more at risk to get the full impact of Stomp typically, and it's more of a standing battle type thing rather than just a mass DPS type, weapon. If you Stomp and then run, it's not really that big of a thing. It doesn't do as much damage as Shockwave, like I say. But yeah, it's going to be, potentially very powerful in some circumstances. I'm not sure what exactly happened with Teal's hero. Was he harassing? There's like one damaged peasant at green. I hope. And his, wow, did he harass? No, green's on our team. Is pink? No, pink's, I don't know what. I have no clue what. We don't have like anything. Did he die creeping? We don't have like anybody's like their side of the map revealed. I have no clue what happened there. But anyway, I'm gonna get level 2 and then go like running around trying to see what's going on at the enemy base. We got red with 2 crypts. Late graveyard. He's going for ghouls, the Dreadlord. I don't really want to run into that. Actually, we had me and Yellow had I got creep jacked by Yellow, and I think I lost a ghoul there. So that was not good. That was a bad engagement for me. I was, he's outmassed me with headhunters instead of ghouls, or sorry, grunts. And he creep jacked me, so that was bad. Now I have to like sort of camp my base. I sort of stopped at 4 grunts, I think. And he's just going to continue massing. He's got about 7 headhunters right now. He's building more. He's out leveled me. He's at level 3, which I think he's got Stomp, but either Stomp or Shockwave is going to be pretty solid. Shockwave or Stomp should be more effective against his massed up units. The potential for damage with obviously more units to a certain point is gonna help me do more damage. But in the meantime, I'm helping green creep. I don't try to suck up any of that experience. I'm too far from level 3 to make that an issue, and it got him to level 3, so that worked out pretty well. He got level 3. I wouldn't have gotten level 3 if I was there. Like if your hero is next to the creeping and somebody else's, it's going to split the creep experience. So in the meantime, Yellow is able to creep this. If we showed up here to creep jack him like immediately, but we just kept, I think I do ping this. I'm like, okay, let's go over here. And but the creeping's already been done. I think he just town portals when we start to show up, even though he's got an Ankh of Reincarnation and a Wand of Mana Stealing. But now he just TP's out. Really decent decision. He's taking damage. He can just heal up very cheaply at his base, rather than like burn through all of his items hoping to beat us there. I got a Shadow Hunter coming up, and I'm taking tier 3 now. And green, I don't know if he's got Thunderclap and Stormbolt, probably. Pretty good combination. They're actually going to be nerfing both Stormbolt and Thunderclap in the coming patch. A slight nerf to Thunderbolt, I think, and then a very slight nerf to Thunderclap. They buffed Thunderclap pretty significantly in the last patch, or in the patch that's actually right here, in 1.29. So they're just going to rein that in a little bit. I guess they thought it was a little bit too much. Though the fact that they're nerfing Stormbolt even more, I always thought Stormbolt was really strong. After the nerf, I thought it was fair though. Like they nerfed it and then they buffed Thunderclap. But I guess if they buff one thing and nerf something else, it's not really a sort of overall. It's more of a sort of a push. And I think it was actually more of a buff than a nerf. Thunderclap got buffed more than Stormbolt got nerfed. So, but yeah. Anyway, we have a battle here. We draw them back. We've got a Lich, a Death Knight. They're gonna sleep my Tauren. I wake him up immediately. And I'm going to go for a Stomp. That's the issue with Sleep, especially in Tier 2. If I had Spirit Link on this Tauren, I think sleeping him is just going to... Spirit Link wakes up stuff that's asleep when they take... when something else that Spirit Link takes damage. So, Sleep is very bad against basically Orc. Not that it's amazing against any race. It's actually way better than it was before, though. Unfortunately, I didn't save that Spirit Walker. So this battle is actually fairly close. I don't have my I've got 2 Spirit Walkers here, but I don't have like my master level casters. My heroes weren't like, amazingly powerful. I'm only level 2 on the Tauren, so I'm sort of weak here in terms of units and stuff. So, but I try to stick in here and help my allies out as much as I can. But we're a little bit, well, green's doing pretty good. But we're a little bit outnumbered here. Teal didn't really seem to have very much there. I think was one of the issues. And me, again, I'm sort of going to be strongest in the late game once I get like heal wards and stuff. And I haven't leveled up my hero very much. So yeah, I'm not in great sort of shape here. Let's see what green, if he starts dropping some Thunderclap. Thunderclap would be really strong right there on those rifles, but he Stormbolts the Tauren. Going for that kill, if he gets it. Actually, he's got Anka Reincarnation, so it won't make that big of a difference. He could probably kill, oh, sorry. I made a mistake. Those pink rifles were ours, so he can't, he wouldn't be Thunderclapping those. But, pink loses his hero, red TP's out. Purple still got some fiends here. No, he's got a Dreadlord with fiends. That's interesting. And he does have Vampiric Aura, which is, you could go Carrion Swarm and Sleep, and that's sort of a viable thing now that they've buffed those abilities. But to go with fiends, I always thought actually Dreadlord was pretty interesting. And again, I've used him with fiends, but if I do use him with fiends, I tend to not spend any points on Vampiric Aura for sure. But close Raider and Snare there saves. I think saves the day on the Dreadlord. He had plenty of mana for another Stormbolt, so saved the day. But we sort of hold that. As far as who won that battle, it's hard to say. My army was still sort of intact, and I'm gonna try to utilize this mana fountain. Another thing I've been sort of enjoying with this strategy specifically is adding a Dark Ranger third just for silence. At this stage of the game, AoE, silence, AoE like spell prevention, I guess you'd say, is very strong because on heroes they tend to have at this stage level like 4 and 5 here, 3 to 5, 3 to 6, whatever heroes, they tend to have really powerful spells that they can use. So stopping, delaying those is really good. If you can sort of interrupt healing and stuff, that's really dangerous. All 3 of these heroes can interrupt heal spells. I've got a stun, I've got hex, and I've got silence. So if you sort of aim these correctly and time them correctly, you can be very dangerous with these heroes. They seem weird. And again, in the hands of like sort of a novice player, or if you're not sort of using them to their maximum potential, it's not as dangerous. You're like, okay, what exactly is the theme with these heroes? We've got a stunning hero that does some damage. We've got a hero that could either get Black Arrow or Drain Life, or most likely Silence is going to be the weapon. So Silence is good, Hex is good, and healing or heal wards, sorry, not heal wards, Serpent wards. It's like, what exactly do I excel at? Well, really, what you excel at is basically controlling heroes and sort of controlling micro. So you can sort of really mess up heroes. You can mess up like caster units, and you can, with Hex, you can sort of control like heavy air, heavy ground units, or like Kodos or heroes. Uh, so yeah, you've got a lot of weapons in terms of dealing with that stuff. And then you've got Heal Ward, Stasis Trap. Again, Stasis Trap is another like anti-micro type weapon. Spirit Link is, you know, spreading the damage, so it's going to be sort of a pretty good weapon in conjunction with all that stuff as well. So you're sort of a support. You play a support role. You know, I'm not going to have the mass DPS against most armies, sort of like with the human style of play, where I go mass sorceresses and a couple of spellbreakers and brilliant sword and stuff. You're not going to have the mass DPS. You know, in terms of like focus firing heroes. You know, yeah, I've got Stomp, yeah, I've got Hex, and yeah, I can silence the hero. But then I need, you know, the DPS is not really great. I've got a bunch of magic damage basically, and then the Shadowhunter's DPS is pretty poor. Dark Ranger's is okay, but I tend not to get Black Arrow, which would buff the DPS. I tend to just save the mana for silence. I guess Drain Life could be pretty useful. I do get Drain Life, but I don't really use it honestly that much. But yeah, I'll click through these score screens unless you know you want to pause it on any of them and look. But yeah, that's sort of the theme of the strategy, and you know, obviously, depending on what kind of units the enemy is massing, is going to make this is going to be a game on Battlegrounds. It's going to make the difference in exactly how strong that particular strategy is going to be. If they're just massing like they have like a Death Knight and a Lich and mass fiends, I mean, you know, obviously silence is going to be useful there. Potentially Hex obviously will be useful. Either Serpent Wards or Heal Wave will probably be useful. Stomp should be incredibly useful. So you're not, you know, there. I'm trying to think what army would really be. Hold on, I'm going to go ahead and split this into two here.